Hi, English 9 parents, and happy last week of October. First and foremost, thank you so much to those of you who came to parent-teacher conferences. It was wonderful to talk with so many of you in person rather than through this medium. And I'm really excited to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about all the good things that have been going on in English 9. Thank you also to those of you who brought your student with you. That's such a nice wrinkle. I always prefer to talk with the student rather than about him or her. So if you didn't bring your student, consider doing that next year. Ask your student to come with you. At first there might be a little bit of hesitation, but it's something I've always appreciated. I know that there are other teachers who appreciate that as well, so just something to think about. As far as the big news, our short story Quest is kind of like a quiz test hybrid. It's kind of in between. Those grades are now in. For the most part, students did really well on that. They were asked to synthesize 4 different short stories that we read, as well as kind of think about them individually. So they were doing a little bit of both, which I thought was a really good challenge for us. And for the most part, students were up for the task. If your student did struggle, though, please encourage your student to reach out to me. They do have the opportunity to do a retake on that. There is a little bit involved with that. They can't just simply show up and give it another shot. But encourage your student to come in and talk a little bit about that. We'll do some conferencing. We'll look through the exam together. We'll try and identify some strengths and weaknesses, and then they'll be asked to go back, kind of re-prepare, do a little bit of work on that first exam, and then they'll be taking a brand new one based on kind of some of those same skills. So again, if your student's interested in that, encourage him or her to come see me at some point this week. We need to try and chat this week, and that way we can go ahead and do makeups by next week at the very, very latest. One other quick thing. A few parents have been asking about what annotations are. I think there are 3 grades in there that have the word annotation in there somewhere, mostly related to The Most Dangerous Game, the short story that we read, and certainly a few others as well. So when we annotate, it's all about marking up the text a little bit. We've put that in 2 categories. As students read, we're asking them to read with 2 different pen colors or 2 highlighter colors. And in one color, we're asking them to identify anything that they notice that they feel is really important. It could be a connection that they make to another book, like when we read The Most Dangerous Game, maybe there were some connections to The Hunger Games. It could be something that they thought was really important, where they go, ooh, this is really interesting about this character. Like, I might want to hang on to this. This seems like a really interesting line. And so they're asked to highlight that and make a little note as to why they highlighted it. What is it that they noticed about it? So they kind of put their thinking down on the page. The other side of that is they're reading for what they noticed and also what they wonder. What are some questions they have as they read? And that can be everything from words that they don't know to something like, I don't know why the character just did that. That seemed really dumb. Why did the character do that? Or what does the author mean by that? Like, that seems like a really weird description. Anything that they're like, I don't understand that moment. What helps us with that is, 1, it helps us know what's kind of going on in your reader's head as they're navigating a text. And 2, it's really helpful for students to go back and be able to find things. So when they're noticing things and when they're wondering about things and marking those, they're able to go back and pinpoint that for discussion. So we know that it leads to higher engagement because it's not just passively reading, like you're actively reading. It helps you identify patterns. That's really important. But I think the biggest one is when we go back for discussions or when students need to do some writing, if they've got 7-8 pages to flip through and they haven't marked their text at all, how are they going to find that moment? So this is one of those kind of high school level things we want to be working on because 10th grade, let alone 11th and 12th grade, when they're doing longer articles, they want to make sure that they're marking up these texts so they can go back and find some things. So help your student kind of see the value in that. It's a really, really important task. And again, we try and keep it as simple as we can. What are you noticing? What are you wondering? And then as you highlight something, why did you end up highlighting that thing? Like, what is it that you noticed? What is it that you're wondering? Just to help me, help them, and to help them help themselves kind of navigate those texts. Last but not least, what's ahead? Of Mice and Men is what's ahead. So 1 week from today, next Monday, we will begin reading. This week is all about doing a little bit of prep work. And there are 2 things that we're hanging on to for that prep work. One is the idea of allies. We started off this year thinking about success. What is it that we as individuals need to do? But in truth, successful people need allies. Who are good allies? What are the traits that they embody? Why is it that we feel drawn to these people? We're going to think in terms of that because George and Lenny, the two major characters we're going to get to know, they have a lot to go through. They have a lot of challenges navigating the Great Depression and being migrant workers. They're going to need an ally in kind of the face of loneliness and alienation. To be able to navigate that world, they're going to need an ally. So we're going to focus on allies. The other thing, of course, is we are going to tack on the Great Depression. That's something that they have a little bit of familiarity about, but they're going to do more of in their history class. So we kind of want to give them just a basic working knowledge that then later, they will have a good entry point as their history classes get into that a little bit. So on Thursday and Friday, most likely, we're going to take a look at some images from Dorothea Lange, a super famous photographer from the time period who did a great job capturing all these people migrating out west in search for something and kind of that unknown, which creates a feeling of desperation. So we're going to take a look at some really beautiful images, some haunting images. Hopefully that'll go ahead and help us kind of ground ourselves in what the Great Depression was like for these students. So that's what's coming up. Only other thing to tack on for that, there will be audio available for students who prefer that, all up on the classroom website, mrpruder.com, nice and easy to remember. There is audio available for them for when they're reading at home. And if you would like a copy, it's only 6 chapters, it's a tiny, tiny book that packs a pretty good punch. That could be such a cool experience for your student to have you read along with us. So if you're interested, please shoot me an email. I'll happily send you a copy home. That way you can read with us. Speaking of reading at home, make sure you keep harping on the idea of independent reading. Make that a normal thing. We know that students who read for 15 to 20 minutes every day score in the 85 to 90 percentile simply because of the number of words that they're taking in. So we read for 15 minutes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you can hit them on Tuesday, Thursday, and the weekend, you'll be shocked at the growth that you see in their reading and also in their writing. Those things are very much connected. And hopefully you can maybe pick up a book and kind of model some of that reading too. So let me know if I can be of any help. Thank you as always for the support. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week when we'll head into November. Take care.